they are a people, and they are a faith, who will not conform to whatever the proposed ideal for the new utopia is. They never have before, and they won't moving forward. We should take a note from that, by the way. Not saying that we should not grow and learn and progress, but when it comes to the things that we cannot bend, the things that we should never compromise on, we could learn a good lesson from our Jewish brothers and sisters, from our Jewish friends. And so we get added to that list of people who everyone who wants to start a false utopia runs into. Oh yeah, well they're going to keep running into the Jews. Oh, and the Christians. They're the ones who don't compromise what they believe. They're the ones who don't change how they worship God just because someone else told them they can't anymore. So, but yeah, utopia doesn't work. And that's why these false utopias steamroll the individual. It loses the individual. And that's no longer the common good. It goes back to that old question, that stupid ethical question that they would try and pose. Oh, well, if you could end all the suffering and all of the, murder and all the violence, all the terrible things in the world, and you could put an end to all of the suffering in the world right now. But to do so, you would have to torture an innocent child. Would you do it? I always hated that question. It was a stupid question. Well, hopefully the answer is no, I wouldn't. Right? But the point is that you can't lose sight of the individual. The moment I no longer care about that little child, that's not the common good anymore. Because it's not just how do we get the most happiness, it's how do we get everyone to flourish. If it was just a matter of we can quantify happiness, okay, well you're super happy, you're not happy, but that's okay, his happiness cancels out your unhappiness. So it doesn't matter. No. The idea is that both of these individuals, the happy one and the one who's currently unhappy, can both flourish. It doesn't mean they will flourish equally. It doesn't mean they will have the same things. It doesn't mean that we turn it into a checklist. Okay, well he doesn't have this yet, so we failed. But he needs to be able to flourish. We can't be putting roadblocks in front of him. That's the common good. Not, we're going to steamroll this guy because his happiness cancels out his unhappiness. Not, we're going to remove you because you don't want to conform to this new idea that we have that's going to make everyone equally happy, which never happens. All right, I'll get off my little soapbox. That's the important thing. So we can't lose sight of our socialness as we focus on our individuality. We can't lose sight of the individuality as we focus on the society. Fourth thing, and that is in order to attain the common good, it's obvious that society has to work together. Right? Please, politicians, listen to this point. Any politicians out there ever, we have to work together. All right? It doesn't say we have to agree on everything. It doesn't say we have to get along all the time. But in order to achieve the common good, we have to work together. By the way, this is kind of one of the ways it ties into solidarity, isn't it? I have to be willing to work with people who I may not get along with. I have to be willing to empathize with people and understand them. And even perhaps be willing to compromise and change my own mind on certain things when I'm confronted with new information. And hopefully the person on the other side can see that and does the same for me. And I'm able to do that because I see the other person's dignity, and I don't immediately go for the jugular. See how this all fits in? But that's the other thing, is that we have to work together, and strictly speaking, it also requires peace. Right? We use the example of wartime rationing, but let's be honest, that the common good there, not the greater good, by the way, difference, remember, it's not most happiness, it's human flourishing. But the common good in the wartime footing is really, hopefully that's a temporary state, because no one is really well off in the middle of a war. maybe like the one or two people who own like the gun factories, and everyone else is miserable, right? So, technically speaking, we need peace for the common good, and we need people to work together. Right? Now, just about hitting time here. So, very quickly, like I said, we said peace is required, social development of the group, and respect for the human person. Okay, so we hit all those. Now, finally, final and hopefully obvious point. But I'm going to state it anyway, and that is, we call it the fact that we call it the common good should be very instructive to us. The common good is not meant to be exclusive to a person or group of people. It's not meant to exclude people. Now, what I'm not saying is that, was it the Lego movie, everything is awesome. Okay, I'm not saying everything is awesome. I'm not saying that every belief is equal. But if something is truly going to be the common good, all of us need to be able to reach the fulfillment of human flourishing and become fully alive, to live the abundant life that God desires for us. Again, I'm speaking spiritually more than materially here, although if we're doing the spiritual part correctly and we're living it out, that will play out in society. Again, I think that we get this backwards sometimes, that we think, oh, if we change society, then people will turn back to God. We have that backwards. When people turn back to God, society will change for the better. Right? So this is, again, why it's the spiritual flourishing, okay, the becoming the people fully alive, living that abundant life that Jesus Christ wants us to have. Letting Christ transform my heart, let him transfigure my life, and make me more like him, to reflect his image and likeness better to the world. And we start becoming saints. We start becoming holy people, changed people, people on fire for Christ. That changes the family, it changes the community, it changes the churches, it changes the diocese, it changes the state of California, it changes the country, which changes the world. We've got it all backwards. When we think, oh, if we just got the right people in Washington or in Sacramento, they would solve all of our problems, and then we'd be fine, and we could worship without being bothered by HHS mandates, or we could do this, and we wouldn't have to worry about that, or then I'd be free to give more money to, help this charity or that charity. No, that's backwards. It starts with you and I living that common good, moving towards, and then through that we transform society. Society does not transform us, or it shouldn't. We're supposed to transform society. So when we say it's the common good, again, the first thing is the spiritual goods. Because if I have the spiritual goods and I let them affect my life, that's going to change society. And then in a society that is fair, that is moral, that looks out for everyone, that treats everyone equally, that doesn't trample people or take advantage of them, in that society, people will be able to also flourish materially. But it starts with this. It starts with the transformation of my heart. My heart. And that conversion, and that letting God do that. And living the common good and recognizing the dignity of everyone I meet. That is what makes the good, the common good, ultimately. Let's pray. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Thank you.